The PlayStation Portal, a very controversial device that honestly I kind of love. Not to spoil the whole video or anything. Oh, they added more stuff today. Interesting. I love this device. I thought it was kind of stupid when it was first announced, like a lot of people did. People called it a Wii U, and yeah, I mean, I see that. This is kind of an old device now. I guess it's nearing 2 years old by now, maybe. I don't know when this came out actually, but it's definitely been over a year, and there's been a lot that has changed with it. Maybe not a lot, but like a big change has happened with it. And that is cloud streaming. It's still in beta. I don't really know what that means because everything runs pretty darn well, at least in my experience. Let's go over what the PlayStation Portal is for you noobs and my mom. This is a handheld PlayStation 5 that doesn't actually run the games. You need, or at least needed, a PlayStation 5 to be able to use this device. Otherwise, it was a paperweight. You also need an internet connection, but who doesn't have that nowadays? And you also kind of need a pretty darn good internet connection. This will play your PlayStation, literally play your PlayStation. For example, let's go to the home menu here and let's connect to my PlayStation. You just heard that beep, maybe? Probably not, because I'm kind of far away from my PlayStation, even though it's in the same room. My PlayStation is now turning on from hitting a couple buttons on this device. It is now ready to play, and I am logged in. It'll portal jump me through to my home screen of my PlayStation. If I were to show you my TV right now, you would see a Safety Third podcast because I am not on HDMI 2 right now. But I could flip it to HDMI 2 and you would literally see the inputs that I'm doing right now on this device. It's super cool. When I am at home, this works perfectly. I mean, flawlessly. It is like I am playing PlayStation. Like this, it feels like this is a standalone PS5. It is not, though. It is running completely off of my PlayStation, and it just streams all of the video feed to me, and I send my button presses back to it, and it's a give and take. Since I am mere feet away from my PlayStation at this moment, the latency is like non-existent. I'm sure if you slowed down the video, you could see a little bit of lag, but the latency is about the same as just using a wireless controller on your PlayStation anyways, at least with my internet connection, which is pretty darn good. Not quite gigabit, but it's fast. I'm also hardwired into my router on my PlayStation, and I don't have Wi-Fi 6, but this isn't Wi-Fi 6 compatible anyways, so it doesn't matter. I also have a pretty darn good router. Anyways, I can jump into Astrobot, which is the game I currently have in my disk drive. This device does not get warm. I don't even know, like, it's so thin because right here is just the screen. And I'm assuming the battery and all of the brains are just in this part right here. And that's it. Like, it is a large device. Do not get me wrong. It is a large device. Look at this cutting board. If you didn't know, this is a cutting board that I use for my background on the second channel. And it is almost as large as this cutting board, which this is about the size of my laptop, my 14-inch MacBook Pro. And this is quite literally a PS5 controller, a DualSense stretched out, and a screen slapped in the middle. It's got a link button, for lack of better words, a Bluetooth button to link your PlayStation branded headphones. It's got a power button. It's got a volume up and down. The speakers are on the top here. It gets decently loud, but the speakers are firing up, so I don't know. It's good enough. It sounds fine. The reason why I loaded up Astrobot, not only just because it was the thing that's in my PS5 right now, but the other part of it is this is literally just a DualSense with a screen in the middle, which is a good thing because the DualSense has a lot of cool features that a basic controller does not have. It's got cool triggers. It's got HD Rumble, or whatever PlayStation calls it. And it's got gyro in it, which, I mean, I know a lot of controllers have gyro in it, but I don't think this thing has gyro in it. We'll talk about this in a little bit later. It's still got the microphone on it that is automatically muted, which is nice. and it's got everything else you would expect out of a DualSense controller. The only complaints I have are the sticks are ever so slightly smaller, which for gaming, not a big deal. Have not noticed it. It's just for repairability, it's a completely different stick module than you would see on a PlayStation 5. Otherwise, the triggers, the buttons, I believe everything else is exactly the same. I could be wrong on that. But I like this device a lot. I've used it in my home. I've used it outside of my home. I've even used it out of town. I have not used it out of state quite yet because I haven't left the state since I bought this. But I don't know if I would take this out of state, and we'll talk about that more later. Now, the reason why I held off on this for as long as I did was because I didn't really use remote play that much. But how my life is right now, I don't spend a ton of time at home. And when the new NCAA football game came out, I got it and I wanted to play it. And I had the disc and I wanted to play it, but I was at home. So I got this and I reviewed this on a video on the second channel not too long ago. And I really like it. Sorry about the idiot driving too fast behind me. It's a really solid controller. And I can slap my phone in here and I can remote play from this. I can do exactly what this does. Not exactly, but I can do pretty much what this does here with my phone and this controller. And it's a lot more compact than this because I can put this in my pocket like I normally do. And then this is much smaller in my bag than this. So some of you might be thinking, Jake, if you were already playing remote play with this thing and you liked it, why did you spend $200 on this device? Well, first, I actually only spent $150 on it because there's this place called BrandSmart or BrandSmart USA, and they've had it on sale for $150 every now and then. And Best Buy, fun fact, does price match with them. So I was able to price match this at Best Buy for $150, and I put it on my Best Buy credit card, and I got it. It was kind of just like, you know what? I wanted to try it. They just added the streaming beta, and so with the $50 off, the 25% off of this device, I jumped on it. I honestly thought I might return it by the end of the month, but I didn't. This quickly became one of my most used devices of December. The guy who's known for handheld gaming, I have a lot of handhelds that I could choose from, and I've reached for this almost every single time. The reason why you might want to get this over a mobile controller like this is one, even though this is like really darn comfortable, I'm still more of a sticks down low instead of the offset sticks kind of guy. This controller is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I have really very minor complaints about it, but this has gyroscope in it. This allows me to have all the cool trigger effects and the vibrations and everything that the DualSense has in the same style plus a bigger screen. And it's a separate device than my phone, so I can still use my phone without having to detach the controller, respond to a text, put it back in and keep gaming or whatever, you know. I like having separate devices. Even back in the day, I had my phone and then I had my iPod Touch. That's not a good example because I ended up getting an iPhone and I never looked back, and neither did Apple. But I like having a separate device for gaming that is not my phone. And even though remote play worked just as good on my phone as it does on here, I prefer this setup for the most part. One of the drawbacks to this is that it is ginormous, as I've said. And if I want to travel with it, I want to be protected because it's a pretty thin screen that I don't know how structurally sound it is. I don't want to damage it. Also, these aren't Hall effect sticks, so that's another thing. So I got this case on Amazon, which makes the footprint of the device even bigger. It's not bad. You can store some cables in here for charging, whatever, and you can put your device in there. You can protect it with the like velvety thing, and you can zip it up and take it with you with the handle. This thing is an absolute unit. I use a Switch backpack, like the Nintendo Switch branded backpack, for most of my day-to-day stuff. When I'm going somewhere for the day or whatever, I'm using my Switch backpack, And if I put this in there, even if there's nothing else in the biggest pocket of my backpack, this thing takes up all the room. I like to take my laptop, sometimes my iPad, and this, and it just takes up, it makes my backpack so big. It is just for like a commuter backpack that is meant to hold the Switch and some other accessories. But it is just makes that so big and so bulky. But I don't want to travel with it outside of the case, really. So I don't really know what to do about that. And there's really not much I can do about that. It's just a big device, and that's that. Maybe this could be a little bit thinner, but when you feel into this pocket here, it's not that thick. It's definitely thick up here. There's just nothing there. I mean, there's something solid there, so you're not breaking your device, but I think it's pretty much as thin as it can be while staying structurally sound. Anyways, there's nothing wrong with this case. It's just big, and it's big because this is big. So that is a huge drawback. So if I'm going to travel somewhere and I don't want to take up all the space, this makes much more sense because it's way more compact. And if I'm playing a game that doesn't have all these special PS5 effects, like a lot of PlayStation games, then this just makes more sense because it's more compact and it does the same thing. However, one thing that my phone cannot do that the PlayStation Portal can do is cloud streaming. You can stream a ton of different games directly to this device based off of a Wi-Fi connection. The games do not run off of your PlayStation from here. They run off of PlayStation servers, and it will ping to wherever the nearest cloud server is to you. And so there's going to be slightly more latency, but in general, at my place, it is about the same as though I'm playing on my PlayStation through the portal. However, there are a lot more dips in connection when I am playing on the cloud. When I'm at home, I have no internet drops unless the internet is just completely pooping out. But when I'm on this thing, the connection can dip no matter how strong my internet connection is in my home or wherever I'm at. Cloud streaming, whether I'm at home or at a friend's house or like 100 miles away from my house, it's going to be about the same depending on how good my internet connection is. And it's good and bad. I really don't have that many complaints about the cloud streaming because I know cloud gaming, it's like almost there, but it's still not quite there for like majority of people. And I would 100% way rather have a dedicated handheld that actually runs the games like a Steam Deck or a Switch, a portable gaming console that actually has the power built into it. I would rather have that because there are a lot of games that I would like to play that aren't in this PS Plus library. In fact, there's a lot of games that are on the PS Plus library that just aren't playable on the cloud streaming beta for this device. Let's scroll back up to the top here. God of War Ragnarok. That was just added this week as at the time of recording, which I'm happy about. I don't know if God of War 2018 is in here. Not a huge deal to me because I own that game physically and digitally. I can play it on my PS5 and stream it through my console instead of on cloud streaming. And same thing with God of War 3 because I don't know if that's in here either. I don't think it is. What does upset me is I know for a fact that at least the first two God of War games and God of War Ascension, the PS3 versions, are on the PS Plus library. However, it is not a part of this beta, so I can only stream it to my console, but I can't stream it on here. And you're thinking, okay, Jake, just connect to your console and then stream it there. No, they do not allow that because that's double the latency. It would honestly probably be a nightmare unless you're right in front of your PlayStation. And at that point, just play it on your TV. But I don't know why, even though it's just a beta and they're adding games, why do they not just have all of those games on here? You're cloud streaming the PS3 games, whether you're on your console or on this device. So why are those God of War games not on here? You have other PS3 games on here. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a PS3 game. It might be a PS2 game. I think this is a PS3 game. I'm pretty sure this is a PSP game that is remade on the PS3, and so they're streaming the PS3 game. Like, there's a few games that are like that are PS3 titles, whether they were originally on the PS3 or not, that are playable on here. Yet I can't play all of the PlayStation Plus library that I pay for on this device. And I just don't understand. That's probably one of my biggest frustrations with this. And I can't cloud stream on my phone. That's just not available. It's never been available. And I'm not quite sure why. Now I understand, because they probably want you to get this, because I'm assuming at some point this will leave beta and just be a permanent feature, all of the library on here. So I would understand why they wouldn't want you to go to the free app and play it on your phone with a controller like this that they don't make any money off of, even though they're making money off of the streaming service that you pay for every year or a month. They could make more money by selling you this device. For the most part, I'm probably not using this as much. But if I'm going out of state, like if I'm going on a flight and I have a limited bag space, I don't know if I'm bringing this chonker. Like, I've got a trip to Italy later this year that this is going to take up valuable space in my limited space when I'm going to be gone for like 2 weeks halfway around the world. So I don't know if I'm going to bring this, because while, yeah, I could probably cloud stream any of these games from Italy, I can't cloud stream my PlayStation. If I stream from my PlayStation, it will be a horrible, horrible time, because I have to ping from Italy to my house and back to Italy, and that will be a latency nightmare. But even then, that's all this can do. So why would I bring this anyways? If I'm going somewhere where I have limited bag space, but it's not too far away from my home that it would be a latency nightmare, I'm probably going to take this with me instead. That way, if I want to, I can still play my PlayStation on the go, and I'm not taking up too much space. But for the most part, I'll probably take this with me. Another thing that I do want to point out that I use this for is I now regularly spend time somewhere that's about 3 hours of driving away from my house. And I used this there when I was last there. It was fine. Whether it was playing from my console or playing the cloud streaming, I had a good enough internet connection. I didn't feel the latency. I'm sure there's some people who are more sensitive to that kind of stuff that would be annoyed by it, but it was good enough for me. And I was playing Ghost of Tsushima. And if you've never played that game, there are some intense fights that you don't want to have any latency for. So if I can play that 3 hours away from my console and not get outraged or overly annoyed, it's pretty darn good. You might have to change up some Wi-Fi settings for your particular Wi-Fi network or router or what have you to get this to work as well as it's working for me. Thankfully, I didn't do anything other than doing some port forwarding, but I had to do that before I even bought this. I had to do that for this. That way I could access my PlayStation on a different Wi-Fi network than my home Wi-Fi network. That is all above my pay grade. I watched a YouTube video on it. Just search port forwarding and you'll probably be taken care of. Anyways, I really do like this device. I think it's awesome, but I understand it's not for everyone. If you don't have a fast internet connection, if you're regularly traveling out of state, I don't know if this is for you. Some people I've seen on Reddit, because I follow the PlayStation Portal Reddit, a lot of people on there are like, I take this everywhere. I'm a flight attendant and I play this everywhere. That might work for you, but your mileage definitely will vary. A lot of this is based off of your internet connection and your home internet connection, unless you're doing cloud streaming, and how far away you are from your console, unless you're doing cloud streaming. I feel like this review is kind of all over the place. I apologize for that. That's why this is a second channel, not a main channel review. I kind of want to do a main channel review on this, but maybe I'll save that for when this is out of beta. But for now, those are my thoughts, not really first impressions, because I've had this for almost 2 months now. I also want to quickly add in at the end here, the battery life for this thing is phenomenal. I've played this for like 3 or 4 hours and get down to like 50% from 100%. It's great. The USB port is in a perfect position to not get in your way like at all. And this is super comfortable because it's just PS5 controller with a screen in the middle. It's a little heavy, but it's really not that heavy because there's not much to it. But again, this is kind of a big device. I almost want to say I would like a smaller one, but I don't really want a smaller one because then that would shrink the screen and then that would take another positive thing away from it because that's kind of why I like this thing so much because it's a bigger, better screen. But yeah, I mean, it's not OLED, but it's a good screen. It's bigger and I can see more. But this is kind of the thing that I've been waiting for. Just, man, I wish I could play games directly off of this thing instead of having to rely on a Wi-Fi connection.